Hey, how you doing? Peter Nudge Training. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing okay. I'm just at home today, lounging around. Got a day afternoon off, and gosh, I got some pretty cool stuff. Just revelations like crazy coming in the last week, and yeah, let's just go into it. If you've ever um, thought that we are living in a movie kind of thing, well, if you watch a number of movies over the past, say, 20 years, you can see a running theme through a lot of them. Is that aliens kind of come here and they take over and this whole thing. And as sci fi as that is, and how maybe far removed it feels to our day to day life, I really feel that that's what we're here for. We're here to save this planet, but also save ourselves. Because on a future timeline, we got taken over and wiped out by AI. I often talk about Archon and these reptilians and all that stuff, and we've all heard this thing. And the context is only removed. Only that what's difficult is that it's removed from mainstream, and that we have to find our own way, and we find our solutions on our own, and we come to these conclusions. It all is rational in our own mind, and I believe it is very rational, but we don't have this tangible thing. So in the last week, though, I've been finding these things that are really bringing all of that together. And so one is the Roswell crash. So if you go back to Roswell, I've done any research on that, you will find out after going through all of the psyop false narrative that was, you know, that was in the propaganda, basically the war at the time, war of information about it. So they were saying it was a weather balloon, but it wasn't. There were aliens in there. They did crash, and if you've seen, there's a documentary. No, it's not a documentary. It's basically a narrative of the interview that happened with the only survivor of that crash, which is a 40-inch alien, and her name was Ariel, AIRL, and she basically was held for like 6 weeks and essentially divulged the history of Earth to the military. At the end of it, she basically said that we are on a prison planet and we've been taken over by uh, by by we'll just call them aliens for lack of a better word right now, and multiple planetary systems have sent their outcasted folk, the people who didn't, uh, listen to the narrative of the leaders of their world, were outcasted or taken off as a prisoner and sent to this planet, essentially brought here. And she goes in. I won't go into the whole thing because it's a big story. If you listen to the guy who narrates it, it's 4.5 hours long. But essentially, we've been caught in a system here, which is a psychological memory wiping program that puts you back into reincarnation for eternity. That's the plan of it, and it's a technology essentially that does that. And without going into that, because that's really not, this is just an element of what I want to talk about. That information that we are souls down here being recycled and we can't get out. We don't remember who we are. At the end of the day, we die and we come back. We go to the light, that whole thing, and we come back again and birth, die, birth, die. And we've been doing it for a long time. Some of us, hundreds of thousands of years. I've heard it up to 200, I've heard 300, I've heard 450, all these numbers. The fact is I've understood that we are all down here either in that cycle or we have come here to save the planet. Now, it could be your future self as a soul in a timeline, or you've come off planet to save your own kind because you see how dire it is down here. Now, there's another movie. It's the what's it called? The Tomorrow. Uh, it's just recently came out. Oh, geez, Tomorrow Day, the day after tomorrow or something. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it is. It's basically the time. It's basically a similar thing. Is The movie starts off essentially there's a World Cup, and everybody's essentially watching it globally. In the middle of the game, uh, a portal opens in the match, and beings come down, or just military type people enter the field and tell that our planetary, we are from the future. In 30 years, your planet's going to be wiped out. We need to save the planet because we're all going to die otherwise because these aliens have taken over. And essentially, the whole thing is about us saving the Earth by going into the future and trying to wipe them out, and basically figuring out how to do that. So let's go back to now. So why am I piecing all this together? So I've got my old gut feeling, and you've seen from my last video where I said I talked to Ra, and I've been talking to him all my life. I'm finding out. And I'm finding out there's a lot of people who are of similar situations, may not be talking to the same thing, but connecting to their higher selves that we've learned. There's people who are called star seeds, some are called indigo children, and these star children, and this blah 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 goes on and on about that whole part of society that basically, if you read into it and you learn that they're basically here to raise the vibration of this planet and bring love and light here. And through that love and light, it raises the consciousness. And as a result, the consciousness awakens to what's going on here on a tyrannical level. And look at what's going on in the planet right now. And we're seeing a waking up of society. Not everybody's awoken, and that's the problem. But that's why we're here, is to awaken people. And not only are there indigo people, let's just call them that for the sake of simplicity, but there also are people who've been born in to a family, a unit. Maybe it's their star family. You can look at star families, just the whole thing and how it all plays out. But there are multiple millions of people here who are souls that came down, got into a family, maybe got into the military, got into these certain positions that were all planned out in order to have power, authority over certain areas in this planet to help in a white hat, a positive way. And we have the dumbs all being blown out, all these aliens being killed. We have all these things that we're not seeing on the mainstream. You won't ever see it there. But if you just look aside and you start delving deep into these rabbit holes, you do find out a lot of whistleblowers and a lot of information that's just all over the place. And there is amazing things happening. I talked about Romana Didulo, and on her Telegram page, Canada First, you got to go there. If you haven't gone there already, you got to go and see who is on your side. There's over 120, 130,000 people on her page, and they're all of the light. And I mean the light in what I've just said. They're all people who are already awoken. They've been awake all their life. They've never been brought into the tyranny. Everything I talk about here, I'm definitely in that I'm in that group of people, and I'm sure you are. If you're listening here, you're not alone, and we're all waking up to know that we're here together, and we've got this. We've got it. We've won. We just have to learn that we've won and keep raising the vibration here to wake as many people as we can. We're not going to save everybody, but that's kind of the unfortunate thing about this. But I believe on a soul level, those people who are not going to awaken, they'll pass on eventually, but they won't go back into the recycling. I've heard so many things about the Andromedans, all of these Pleiadians, all these different star systems we know that are relatively in our space are helping us. And we've heard a lot of things, and it could be psyops on a lot of these things. You got to discern. I know a lot of it's, they're trying to fool us as much as they can. But if you connect, and that's why I brought that Raw in here. I've had more connections and more definitive alignments and synchronicities with that than I have ever in my life. And they're all coming together very quickly. And so it's telling me that we're in this space of, we're almost there. And there's been a psyop. If you look at the blue beam technology, it was there to basically imitate holographic level, an imitation level in the skies that there were aliens, and then they were going to bomb people and have this whole scenario played out that the aliens are bad and they want to kill you. I can't stress enough that there has to be good people out there. Okay, and let me just build it quickly on a realm level. If we're in this 3D realm, there are planetary systems, galaxies, all in this physical plane. What does that mean? Positive, negative. It has polarity. There's good and bad, evil and good people, and it's inevitable. It's just going to be that way. Outside of this dimension, if you raise your love vibration, you eliminate all of this. You can personally figure this out on your own. You can go into a space of love, and you don't feel any of this garbage down in the 3D realm. You elevate up into these other dimensional vibrational places. These beings can't see you here. Okay, it sounds all hokey if you've never heard any of this stuff, but it is true. You don't have to go far other than inside. It's all inside. Anyway, so why am I bringing that up? So we've got all these galaxies, all of these planetary systems, and to know where we're at on the Milky Way galaxy, the central sun of that galaxy is here, and it spirals out of there, and on one of the arms that go out from that spiral, it's a Sagittarius arm, and right near the end is where planet Earth is. So what I'm learning, which is insightful, is that we're way out on the edge here, on the edge of the system. We're kind of alone out here. The closer you get to the central sun is where you start to see more systems together. There's more connection and these types of things. We, as a prison planet, if you think of it that way, we've been outcasted way out here. And as a result, we don't get a lot of contact that way. It's far removed. Other beings can come and F with these beings without having any problems, meaning they can do it without, they can overstep our free will, which they've been doing for many, many soul lifetimes. And we're in this space. We're isolated. But because of the history of this planet and how people have come, they haven't all been prisoners, by the way. I should just explain that a little. Or bad people. We're not bad souls. A lot of us have been inventors, creators, real smart, going against the norm of your planetary system's mindset, consciousness. So you can imagine, okay, you're on a planet, and you're come up with new ideas, new systems that the powers that be there. It's no different. I mean, there's hierarchies of everything. So you imagine on another planet, there's a soul race, there's a race there, and there's a king, let's just call it, for lack of a better word, king or queen, and they run the show, and they have a system, and you don't align with that, they'll either knock you off or they'll boot you off, or you flee. And that's what happens. That's what I've understood. And you end up basically alone somewhere. A lot of people. So the Archon is an energy system that has actually taken these souls, either from death or I don't know how. It's a psychological energy program. I don't know how it exactly works, but my understanding is that you could be somebody just going by this area of this galaxy, and you can get caught up in it. And from what I understood from that interview that I talked about with the Roswell crash, Ariel was saying that 3,000 of their people, and she looks like a little gray. She's only 40 inches, like not even 4 feet, 3-4 feet tall. This little thing is their system. They had 3,000 of their military personnel taken by the Archon, essentially this mind program, soul program, and brought into planet Earth. Those people, along with I think there are thousands of different races down on Earth with many other souls that have been trapped here for so many lives, so many years. I mean, equivalent, I guess, to Earth years. And so therefore there is a lot of soul energy that is being felt all throughout our galaxy, because a lot of souls have come from different planetary systems. And so it got so bad down here in the dumbs, and all of the killings and the eating and all the brutalness that we all have been learning was, and along with nuclear warfare and all these other things, we're awakening this the galaxy to what was really going on here on planet Earth, and beings came down to save their people, and then eventually find out that this is, we need to save the planet. And I believe that's really what's happening. I know this is kind of all over the map, but I think you get my point. And we're on the tail end of it. From my understanding, we're almost free. So I don't know what's going to happen in the final days, but I do know, and my gut says, if you connect with your heart and you ask for guidance and connection, which I did 2 days ago, it rocked me. It was another experience, like I had a connection with Ra. I ended up talking, and what came out through the conversation in my mind was that I have a soul family, and the soul family, if you've seen all my videos, I definitely have talked a number of times. When I was a young child, 5 years old or so, I looked outside the window at night. I was woken up in my sleep, and I looked out my window, and there were three faces in the sky. And those three faces in the sky is obviously shocking for a little kid to see that. And I ran in my parents' bedroom, and I got my mom, and she said, "Oh, don't worry, son. You're just seeing. You're having a dream." But I looked out their window, and I could see the faces, and it was like this weird thing, and it's never left me. This experience was very, very real. I've since learned that that experience, among other, is essentially showing me that that was my soul family, and they want me to connect. It's up to me. It's my free will, and that I believe I came down to keep the vibration high down here. Now, look, I've, like any person on the planet, you get brought into a life here, and so you got to work yourself out, no matter where you're at, to keep that vibration high, and that's been kind of the goal. And in doing that, with other many souls that are doing that, have lifted the vibration out of fear into more of a loving space, and resulting in a consciousness shift and the awakening of souls. That's really what's happening. And so I've had these connections with my higher soul family, which is, if you just go look on the internet, there's a lot of people that even talk about it in such a nonchalant way, as that's just how life is, and they've learned enough to talk and share that way. And when you start going into it and you look and research, you start to find out that you're connected there, and I definitely am. But I want to give you hope and show that, look, something greater is going to happen here. Now, what's going to happen? I feel in my gut that once you connect to your star family, you can see them. So it's about your consciousness shifting out of the vibration of what's down here, of non-belief. Belief and faith is everything. It's what you create in your own mind's eye that you could create. And seeing yourself in contact with your soul family is number one, I think. And then at that point, it's about connecting and raising us out of this this plane, this 3D polarity existence that we should have come out a long time ago. And like I said in that awakening video I made, that we're getting a huge upgrade really soon, really quickly. And it might be in that we see all those other alien life forms, multi-dimensional beings that aren't even physical, and we get to a point where we ascend this ascension process of getting out of here and be saved. And I think it's just really that. I think we've been caught by aliens. The aliens were taking over this planet. We got caught. It sounds so weird to say it like this, especially if you watch that. God, I can't remember the movie. It's Tomorrow Day, or the day after tomorrow, or something. It just came out. It's a space movie about essentially that, and I just feel so in alignment with what's going on in our world. So, anyways, I thought I'd mention this. It's positive. I really do think we're almost out of it, and the awakening of humanity is happening through this V scenario we're going through, and the whole awakening to the tyranny that's been down here. I should just say quickly, those aliens, a lot of them are, as we know, the politicians and the higher echelon of I hate using these words that describe them, but they do have a lot more money and power, those powerful elites. I believe they are all aliens. I believe a lot of them are have taken over the bodies of a lot of these people. And I think at the beginning, those people weren't really bad people, but they've literally been taken over by a an alien form. The soul's been booted out, and essentially, we see them as a human, but they're really inside they're not. And that sounds all sci-fi, stupid, crazy stuff, but I there's it's just showing to be real in my mind now more than ever. Um, and So my point here is that I believe a lot of these souls are going to disappear, and they already are. And I've even heard so much that a lot of the people we see as humans are also like a cyborg. They're it sounds all crazy saying this stuff, but I believe it to be totally true. Is that a lot of the humans that we think are humans are just going to disappear. They only have a lifeline, I think, of 2 or 3 years. I don't think they live long. And I do believe there are these replicating um, cloning stations all over the planet that have been going on for freaking thousands of years. And I know it sounds crazy, but I believe it to be fully true when you start to look at the orphan trains that were going on in the early 1800s, mid 1800s. It's pretty incredible that they've been birthing babies like forever, using our DNA and making everybody different, look like there's people around here, but they're really soulless people. It sounds crazy. Another one you could think of is the incubator babies back in the early 19th century or 20th century here. Like you go to the World's Fair and there were incubator babies that you could buy. You could get a baby that was in an incubator, no parents. Like, really? Like, this was all over the planet. Like, trippy stuff. I'm saying stuff here that's going to make you question. So go out and look. There's info on this stuff. We've been fooled like no tomorrow. And I tell you, it's trippy stuff. I'm going to keep you posted here on more that I learn and more that I can articulate. I know it's a long video. Hope you've stayed in. Give me a like. Give me a question. Let's talk, and share it. Okay, we'll talk to you next one. Love you. Bye.